Show. I'm the Notorious B.I.V. and this is my boy Paulie G.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Yeah. So we saw, we went and saw Dune 2.
Part 2.
Dune Part 2. And so we thought we would talk about Dune Part 2 today.
Here's what I was thinking.
What is it, Paul?
We could start off with some generalities.
Yeah.
And then if people want to just hear like some general things about what we thought, then we could say, okay, now
we're going to do spoilers.
We're going to do spoilers. So from here on out, if you haven't seen the movie, you should go see it first.
We could do that. Yeah, that's cool. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, go see the movie. Because it's awesome.
Oh my gosh. It was so good.
Yeah, it was way good. But if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want spoilers, go see the movie. Or, well, watch this first part first, and we'll talk about it. But we both enjoyed it, obviously.
Oh, man. And everybody I talked to just talks about how amazing it was.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I talked to one teacher friend who had some complaints. But I talked to other people about her complaints, and they didn't know what she was talking about. Most people I've talked to just loved it. My daughter's already gone and seen it twice.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's not unheard of. She loves movies. She goes to see movies all the time. So
she's a cinephile?
Yes.
Ah, cool.
Whoa, nice vocabulary word there.
Yeah. like our buddy Gareth, remember?
Oh, dude, yeah.
He was a film student.
Yeah.
And he would see like every weird movie there ever was and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's great. It's like, there are so many great things about it.
It's really long. It's 2 hours and 46 minutes.
I didn't even notice the time, honestly.
Yeah.
Myself. Like,
yeah.
I didn't notice that it was long. It is. But like, it just kind of flew by for me.
Yeah. I felt wholly immersed in the world.
Yeah.
I felt kind of overwhelmed because it's so intense for so long.
Right.
Because I'm sitting there watching it with you thinking, oh, after the movie, we can talk about the movie and kind of, pick it apart and everything. And after the movie was over, I was just so overwhelmed with the experience. I didn't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, that was so awesome.
Yeah. Well, the Dune world, like the world is like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's its own thing.
It reminded me of the Lord of the Rings the movies. I mean, in terms of just like the epic scale and the quality,
right?
And just being really intense, like people, like big close-ups on people, and like they're whispering, and it's just like really intense. Like, it didn't feel like a Hollywood movie with actors and a script and a plot where it goes from beginning to middle to kind of with a conflict to an end. It just felt like I'm in this awesome world, and it's just things are happening, and it's like, oh my gosh, just really intense. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to like, it's hard to see something really original these days. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Dune was written way back, maybe even before Star Wars. I heard people saying that Star Wars had a lot of Dune influences on it, in it. So it might have been, I know it was around that time.
Yeah.
And so it's really its own thing, it's not, and you notice that, you watch it and it's like, it's just its own world and with its own stuff going on, and it's cool.
Yep. Okay.
Well,
so,
not spoilers yet.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if this was just our showing. So, because we saw it at this cinema pub, right? Where it's like a pub and you can like get food and stuff and watch it in the movie, but it's a pretty small screen, right?
Yeah.
And And so in the parts, there were a lot of parts in the movie where they're like whispering to each other or whatever, and I couldn't hear what they were saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought,
especially towards the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. And I thought, is that the movie, or are we just in like, you know, I mean, it wasn't like Dolby surround sound or anything, probably, right? Like,
what I thought was, it's probably so loud when it's loud that they turned the volume a little bit down. But then the people who made the movie should have adjusted the volume so that when it's quiet, you can still hear people, right?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Was the movie, did they do a poor job on the sound?
Yeah.
You know, or
yeah,
because I did notice a couple of times where it got quiet in the theater and I could hear like some fan or something going on in the background.
I think it was just the projector.
Yeah, it could have been. It was.
That's what I think it was. I think it was just the projector. But yeah, you could totally hear the projector, or like you said, or some fan. Yeah.
So I don't know. So if you go and see it, let us know in the comments. Were you able to understand the whispering parts? I don't know. Yeah. Because there were a lot of them. There were a lot of them where they're just kind of talking low or whatever to each other, and I'm like, and I was like, I didn't really hear what they said. Hopefully that wasn't important. But then I've read the book too, so I was like, I know what's basically going on, right?
Still, that would be nice to be able to hear what they're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Spoiler time.
Okay, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, you can go watch the movie and then come back and watch this part later.
Yeah. All right. What's your first spoiler, Paul?
So I think one of the things that's interesting is comparing the book to the movie, right? And talking about how they're similar and different.
And that's one thing too. Like, can you really spoil a movie if like the book's been out for years and years?
Yeah. Although there's a lot of people who haven't ever read the book.
That's true.
I only read the book. I read the book right before the first movie came out, so I was excited when the movie was going to come out because I just read the book maybe like a month or two before that. So, and like one of my best friends who loved the movie has not read the books, and so he was like, I don't want to hear about anything that happens in the books after where the movie stops because I don't want that to be spoiled for me. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you should go read the book. But he's a busy guy. He's a doctor, and he's just super busy. So, you know, he doesn't read a lot, probably.
I would be interested to hear in the comments, if you have in the comments, or I would be interested to hear people who have not read the book.
Oh, yeah.
What they thought of the movie.
Well, my daughter hasn't read the book, and she loved it. Again, my doctor friend hadn't read the books and loved it. I mean, he just really, really thought it was just like the best thing ever. So
that's cool, because when I was watching it, I was kind of like, I thought, I've read the book, so I kind of understand what's going on, but maybe someone who didn't might be a little lost in some parts, but maybe not.
I was wondering, like, when he uses the voice, you know, like if either you haven't read the book or you haven't seen the first movie lately, would you remember the, like, or not just him, but his mom also. Yeah. Like when they use the voice and then it's like people have to do what they're telling them to. Like, yeah. I was thinking if you haven't seen the movie lately, or read the book, you might not understand that.
That was established kind of in the first movie, and then in the second one, it's not really explained much.
Yeah, but it's definitely part of the plot sometimes. You can hear, like, they just say something really loudly, and it's like, you can tell there's like, everyone's like jumping and doing whatever they say.
Yeah. And that was one thing. Like, people say that George Lucas, you know, based The Force kind of on that.
Oh, really?
Kind of.
Oh, interesting.
And then of course there's Tatooine, which is like the desert planet. Which
when you said it was based on that, I think I pictured C-3PO and R2-D2 like walking through the desert, in the middle of the desert, you know. Yeah. No sandworms.
Yeah, no sandworms.
But sandworms have definitely been taken
from
Dune. Oh, yeah.
The Scarlac monster.
Just in fantasy worlds in general, though, you see giant sandworms. That's been taken from Dune into lots of other books and movies and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. So I read the books when I was a kid. I read the books when I was a kid. and I loved the book, but then after I saw the first movie, I was like, oh, I should go back and read the books again because I didn't really remember anything. I remember the first book, and the other books, like I couldn't tell you what happened, you know.
Yeah.
And so I went back and read them, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember now, because they're not really kids' books.
Right. I was going to say, dang, how'd you even understand what you were reading?
And I don't think I did really, you know, like I couldn't remember much of it at all. But as I was reading the book, so I was like, oh yeah, I sort of remember this now. And yeah. So,
I've talked to people who were like, I can't read it. It's too dense. It's too difficult
yeah,
to read.
A lot of people,
and that's adults. So that's pretty impressive. You read them as a kid.
Yeah, Dune's a pretty dense book, and then they just get more esoteric kind of as they go along, where it's just like just kind of weird stuff.
More idea based and less plot.
Yeah.
My understanding is that he becomes a real jerk, but the world is like completely green eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, they start like terraforming it or whatever, which is what the Fremen are trying to do.
Right.
Like they're trying to make it green again. But then they realize that that the sandworms create the spice, and they also create the environment. So, but they need it dry because like sandworms die in water.
Oh.
Which is why that, you know, when that
scene where he drowns him.
She drowns the thing.
Yeah.
Like they die in water. So then they realize, oh well, if we, you know, make the planet green or whatever, then there won't be any spice anymore. And the spice in the movie, it's not really. I don't think it's really emphasized how important the spice is.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like there, kind of, and like gives people visions or whatever. Obviously, Paul and his mom, you know, become, you know, they have their full powers unleashed once they take the water of life or whatever.
Right.
But in the books, you know, they travel through the way they travel through space is with the spice.
Oh wow!
Like they have to have spice for space travel.
Oh wow!
Because the Spacing Guild, like, uses, you know, they use spice to like navigate through wormholes and whatever, that kind of stuff.
Oh wow!
So that's why the spice is so important, but they don't really bring that out much in the movie.
No. One thing my friend said that I didn't really get out of the movie was that this is like showing how Paul becomes like a total jerk, and I didn't get that. I just thought, oh, he's saving the people, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's a jerk necessarily, but he there's that point where he makes the decision. I mean, he's trying to be like, no, I don't want to go down this path,
right?
Because he's seen kind of where it leads. But then there's that one point where he's like, okay, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
right.
And that's after he's seen all of the possible. Right now, he can see all these different possibilities at the same time, and so then maybe he realizes, oh, I have to do this, otherwise, things are going to turn out really badly. So I have to go down this path, right?
Right. And that's brought out in the next book, which will probably be Dune 3.
My understanding is that they're going to see how Dune 2 does, and if it does well, then the makers of Dune 1 and 2 are going to do Dune 3 based on Dune Messiah. But then he doesn't want to do more than 3. Yeah. So if people want to keep making Dune movies, he'd be happy to like help mentor them to try to keep it within the same kind of style or the same kind of feel or whatever, but he doesn't want to actually make them himself.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty smart, because because Dune Messiah is kind of like the end of sort of the Paul Atreides story.
Oh, okay.
You know, and then then it's his children after that.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's probably a good place to end. But I don't know how they will. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Because Dune, the book Dune is your basic kind of hero's journey, kind of whatever, and you know the hero kind of winning at the end or whatever. But then in Dune Messiah, he was kind of like, well, do you really want like a popular charismatic leader? Like that can cause problems, which is what the final book's about. You know, it's like, you know, it kind of leads to.
So would you recommend reading Dune Messiah?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It really brings out what you were talking about, where Paul, he really does like see every possible future, and he has to like choose. Well, he has to choose one of those futures, right?
Right.
So you know, so which one does he choose and why, and what are the consequences?
Interesting.
Because if you can, you know, if you can see if you can see every possible future, you know, then it's like what do? You know what I mean? It's almost like you're trapped, you know, because like you can't make, you know, if I'm just making if I make moves based on my intuition or whatever, but like I don't know what's going to happen necessarily.
Right.
Right. I mean, none of us do, right? But if you did know every possibility, then you're almost just like living. I mean, you almost don't have free will at that point. Like, you know, like you're just like walking down this path that you know every single thing is, you know, how everything's going to turn out. Which, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a lot though. What else? Did you have any other comments about Dune?
So one of the big differences from the book is his little sister isn't born
right
yet, and I'm assuming that we'll see that in Dune 3 if they make a Dune 3.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of surprised. I don't know. Maybe, to be honest with you, though, when I'm reading the book, I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy. This little girl is like super powerful, and she's dealing with very adult things as a little girl.
Yeah.
So maybe that was smart, because that would be really hard to try to put into a movie.
Yeah. And she's just kind of like this weird, creepy little girl, you know, that's like
super powerful and intelligent.
Yeah, well, she's like, an adult in a kid's body.
She's like 2 or something. Is she 2? I don't know. I don't know how
she's
old
like
she's
like a toddler or something.
Yeah. And she's the one who kills
the Baron.
Yeah, the Baron in the book.
Yeah. And that's another thing. So in the movie, you know, not much time passes, but in the book, it's like, you know, Paul's like, what, he starts out at like 15 or so, and then it's like he's 20 or so at the end.
Yeah.
You know, and Alia's, you know, like a little kid or whatever.
Yeah.
His sister's a little kid.
Right.
So yeah, that was a choice they made to not do that, and it probably, I get it, like it makes sense. Because that's just another layer on top of things already, you know.
Right.
They have to simplify things for movies a lot, but yeah, she's not in the movie. I mean, well, she's in that vision when he sees her all fully grown or whatever, which is weird. Are they gonna have like, you know, if they make the next movie, like she's gonna be about the same age as he is, you know? I don't know how they'll.
Yeah, my daughter was like,
Once,
oh, she was so super excited to see who the actress was going to be that plays her, and then she turns around slowly, and you see who it is, and I don't know what her name is.
yeah,
But
Anya Taylor-Joy.
there you go. They're like, oh man, she's awesome. I'm excited to have her play her, but like she's in one little tiny scene as a vision because she's still unborn in the movie.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think there'll be a third one too, because obviously they have this major name actress that's just there for like a couple minutes in this movie, you know what I mean?
If that, yeah.
So, yeah, but yeah.
I thought Timothée Chalamet did a really good job. I thought Zendaya did a really good job.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't like Zendaya.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
But my teacher friend didn't like Timothée Chalamet. She's like, oh, Zendaya totally ran circles around him in terms of acting. And I was like,
wow.
I didn't feel like that. I felt like they were both very strong.
Yeah, I thought they both did a great job.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I thought she was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and
that's surprising.
They changed her a little bit in the book, or in the movie, because in the book she just kind of accepts that, like, you know, Paul marries Irulan.
Right. It doesn't seem to me like she's a strong person, like speaking out. Yeah. You know, like revolting or rebelling against what's going on and being vocally, you know, rebellious, like, no, I don't want to do this, and walking out and that sort of thing.
Well, that's that's the custom and everything in Dune, in that culture, that in the book. It's like his dad, you know what I mean, his dad and his mom, like, she was his consort, and he needed to, you know, his dad could have married someone, like, for political purposes, like Paul does, you know, and so in the book it's like he marries Irulan, but he's like, he makes it known that, like, you know, Shawnee's my woman, and you're just, you know, this is just a political marriage kind of thing,
right? And
Shawnee's fine with that, you know.
Obviously not in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I wondered if they were like trying to modernize it or something, you know, like, like
make it so that it seems so that the audience can relate more to the characters instead of like, why would she be okay with that? That doesn't make sense. She should not be okay with that.
Yeah, but he does say he does say, like, oh, Shawnee will, like, she'll come to terms with her eventually, you know what I mean? Like, like he's seen, she'll be okay with it.
Oh yeah,
you know, but for now it's whatever.
Yeah.
So
I thought it was a very strong ending to just see Zendaya angry and leaving. I thought that was like a really powerful way to end the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, showing that she's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, it was cool. And what other differences were there from the book? I guess not a whole lot.
Man, writing on the worms was so well done. Because it could have just been like, oh, this is exciting, but instead it just seems super overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, they're so big, and they're going so fast.
Yeah, yeah. And Paul calls this massive worm, right? Yeah, that was awesome.
That was super awesome. I was excited for that part because having read the book, you're like, oh man, this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I didn't think any of the performances were bad.
This teacher said, I can't take the guy who plays the Emperor.
Christopher Walken.
Yeah, she's like, I can't take him seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
because he's Christopher Walken.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I totally did.
Yeah.
I was totally like into the movie. I wasn't sitting there. I have to admit, I did think, who's the actress who plays the lady that he's going to marry because just for political purposes?
Yeah, what's her name?
I remember
Florence Pugh.
Yeah, when I saw her, I was like, "Oh, Florence Pugh is in this movie," and that took me out of it a little bit, just because she's an amazing actress, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes actors can take you out of a movie if they have a really like big persona outside of movies or whatever.
Like Christopher Walken,
yeah.
Right? So,
or like Nicolas Cage is that way sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't mind. It didn't ruin it for me really.
He doesn't do or say much in the movie. He's not a huge part of it, so he's just kind of there.
Yeah, I think that was kind of. Yeah, the Emperor doesn't have a huge part in the movie or the book.
Or the book, yeah.
And so I think there's like, oh, let's just have Christopher Walken do this cameo or whatever. You know, like it's just this little part or whatever.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, go see Dune. Go read the book.
The book is so good.
Read the book. It's pretty good.
Maybe I'll read Dune Messiah before the third one comes out.
Do it.
Okay. I heard that they aren't as good. The first one's the best, and the other ones aren't as good. So I wasn't really excited. I wasn't really planning on reading the other ones, but maybe I should read Dune Messiah.
I feel like the first book was like very commercial. Like I said, it's the standard like hero's journey kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he wrote that just to kind of break in.
Mm-hmm.
And once that was like a bestseller and you know whatever, and they're like, oh, write more books. He was like, okay, well now I just want to write like what I want to write. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's kind of how the rest of the books feel. But anyway, yeah. Go read the book. Go see the movie. Leave a comment down below. Share this video with your friends, family, and loved ones. And we'll see you in the next one.
Take care.